Welcome back to the Mike Peluso Outdoors. This is the part 2 of Lake Sakakawea here on URL Radio. The more hits you play, the more hits we get. Looking at what took place here today after we got done guiding, it's really interesting that my first half of the show, I talked a little bit about trying to pay close attention to what the fish are telling you. And, you know, every fish has got a story, and they're going to let you know what they want and what they're doing. And if you do pay close enough attention, a lot of times you're going to really help up your catch rates. And that particular thing happened to us this afternoon. We went back where we had started fishing in the morning with the first group, and things went pretty good. We were catching a few fish here and there and working on their limit. And we had a little bit of a tangle up where we were trying to fix some lines, and the wind was blowing a little bit. We had a couple fronts moving through, and I kind of got pushed in pretty close to shore up on some rocks, and I kicked the trolling motor out just a little bit, and I happened to look down at my depth finder, and we're in about 6-7 foot of water, and you could see all the rocks and stuff down there, and we still had a rod out, and lo and behold, it doubled over, and the guy grabbed the rod and reeling in about a 25-inch walleye, and I tell you what, it didn't take me long to figure out that, you know, maybe those fish have slid up a lot shallower this afternoon with a overcast and a little more wind, and we started making a few passes up into that shallow water up and tight, and we really put a hurting on some big fish. We caught probably a dozen fish over 20 inches, with the biggest being almost 26. So again, it was just a little thing. It was somewhat on accident, but we paid attention to it and made our adjustment, and we really went from having a really good night to an extremely great night. And these two gentlemen, one from Minnesota actually, and one from Indiana, never fished walleyes in his life. So he did a lot of firsts today in the boat, which is super exciting for me. He caught his very first walleye, caught a skipjack, which they kind of giggled at. They weren't sure what those were. They'd never seen those before. Took a couple pictures of those, and then we also got into some smallmouth bass, and we did catch a couple big ones of those. And we will definitely talk about that species of fish on Lake Sakakawea on another program. But Lake Sakakawea does have an unbelievable population of smallmouth bass, and they're really kind of the forgotten fish out there. Nobody really pays attention to them, but I'd be really curious to see what would happen if they brought a bass tournament to that body of water with guys that have a lot of know-how and abilities to catch them, because I think they'd be awfully surprised at how big a bags they'd bring in of smallmouth bass. So it's a pretty cool species, and just another option to, you know, get the rods bending, and that's what it's all about. But again, we were up out of Hazen Bay this weekend, or actually this week, guiding. I had a couple trips there, and I want to thank the folks around the Hazen Bay area, the Hazen Parks and Rec. They got some interesting places there to camp. They're awesome. They're just beautiful little cabins that you can rent. You can give them a call there and set that up. And they also have a beautiful campground with all the amenities. They got a nice little store where you can pick up your gas, your bait, your tackle, whatever you need there. They also have a really well-kept fish cleaning table and a couple different boat ramps to use. So you got plenty of room, and again, the campground is just so well manicured and well taken care of. It's a great place, and I just want to thank those folks up there, Dan Fry in particular, for the help of setting me up and getting me taken care of. And I'll be running a lot more guide trips out of that neck of the woods in years to come. So again, I want to thank those folks. It's just a wonderful place to put your boat in and enjoy Lake Sakakawea. And if you haven't fished that lake, or you plan on fishing that lake, definitely check out that midsection in that Hazen area. It's kind of a very scenic area. There are a lot of places to fish. You can go point hop. There's fish right in the bay. You got a lot of opportunity to do different things there, and you can always play the weather and get yourself out of the wind if you have to. So it's a wonderful place on Lake Sakakawea. And again, looking back at these two guide trips today, we probably between the two trips each time boated well over 50 walleyes. Each time, maybe upwards of 75. And it was just incredible. Ran out of bait this morning, and then had a reload here this afternoon, and those guys darn near cleaned it out again. So just a great experience. And now my next venture, I'll be headed back up to Devil's Lake, North Dakota, do a little guiding there the rest of this week. And then next week, August 5th and 6th, is the AIM State Championship out of Newtown, North Dakota on Lake Sakakawea once again. So that one's going to be an interesting one. I'm certainly going to run a program out of there so we can kind of follow to see how that all ends up. My partner Jeff Ensminger and I are sitting in first place right now for Team of the Year, so we're going to have to go out there and try hold our lead and see if we can't close that out. That would be a neat thing, to kind of a little feather in our caps to do that, and then hopefully put ourselves in position to maybe win the state championship. So we're excited for it. The fishing sounds like it's really good up in that area. There is a Four Bears casino tournament out of there this coming weekend, so we'll pay close attention to that to see where the fish were caught and how they're caught, and kind of go from there. So again, this has been this week's Mike Peluso Outdoors. Looking forward to joining you again here next week. If you got any questions or want anything that you want to hear talked about on this show, or want to be a part of the show, whether being on air or being a sponsor, please feel free to get a hold of us. You can find me on Facebook, at Mike Peluso, or just go to urlradio.net and you can email us there, and we'll certainly see what we can do. So again, thanks for listening. This has been the Mike Peluso Outdoors.